in a world
George, can you help me set up my recording studio?
Abso-freaking-lutely.
where voiceover talent are stuck in their closets
Is there a way to improve the quality of my audio files?
Oh, yeah.
and they need to deliver finished audio tracks.
You are my hero.
Oh, thank you. That's sweet.
There is one man who takes it all on.
Real time, excellent, Whittam's World.
Whittam's World, rated VO.
Hey everybody, George Whittam reporting for Whittam's World. I'm using a different headset mic if you guys are observing closely. Actually, it's a different microphone entirely, not just a different headset mic. I usually use a more standard microphone like this. So I've had this kicking around for a while, thought I'd switch to this for a little while, and somebody had asked me about headset mics, Robert Leach actually. So I figured I'd let him hear and let you all hear what one of these might sound like. And I'll put on down here at the bottom of the screen what microphone I'm actually using, so you guys can try one for yourself. Maybe you might want to use one for an audiobook. Try something different. It's kind of nice. You can move around and relax, and the microphone is always in the exact same place as long as you put it in a consistent location. So, topic this week, Jennifer Robertson asked me a couple months ago about Twisted Wave, specifically about normalizing. They added a new feature in Twisted Wave, and it's no longer does it simply normalize to what we call a peak level. Now we can normalize to more than just peak values. We can also normalize to RMS. Okay, so let me explain real quick what that means. You can, and this applies in other softwares too. I know Pro Tools also has peak and RMS normalizing, and others may have it. So these rules apply depending on several different softwares you might use. Peak value is basically based on the actual peak level throughout the entire selection. So if you're looking at this audio file here, if I select that whole file, as I have here, and I choose Analyze, the peak amplitude for that entire selection is minus 1.37 dB. So in other words, that is the loudest level that's achieved throughout the duration of that selection. So if that selection was much shorter, let's say it was just this bit here that I selected before I analyze. And by the way, Analyze is in the File menu of Twisted Wave. And other softwares have these functions as well. You'll see that in this selection, we have a peak amplitude of minus 2.35 dB. Okay, so we talked about peak level. That's the loudest level throughout the entire selection. But there's another value that we care about, and that's all called RMS. And different softwares use different terminologies to describe what RMS is. In Twisted Wave, they call it average RMS power. Average RMS power, the easiest way I can describe that, RMS means, or the letters RMS stands for root mean squared. That's sort of a fancy word for average. So they're looking at what is the average volume when you take everything in account, the lows, the highs, everything else, and bring it all together. What does it end up being, the perceived kind of average output end up being? That's what the average RMS is, or RMS level throughout the file. So in this particular case, this file has an average RMS of minus 18 dB. So in the Normalize tool, you can actually normalize using those two different methods. You can either normalize to peak value, which is still the way that I do things. I'm used to it. That's the way in specifically Twisted Wave has always done it, and so I kind of like the consistency of it. I will normalize to peak value. That's more familiar to me. But you also have the ability to normalize to other values, such as RMS value. True peak value is similar to peak value, except it uses a much more precise measurement of time. So it's going to look at, like, per sample, what is the peak level, whereas the peak value is based on maybe a window of maybe 10 milliseconds or something. It's a really tweaky setting. I never ever use true peak value. RMS, LUFS is something that we don't really deal with as well. So I pretty much, the only ones I would ever look at would be peak value and RMS value. RMS value gives you some tweakability now. So you can say, again, remembering that the file had a minus 18 value before, we could say, let's do a average RMS value of minus 10 and see what happens. So interestingly, the audio actually dropped in volume. Why did that happen? Well, it was because of another setting we had chosen called maximum peak value. So that maximum peak value is sort of like a safety net, and it keeps you from driving it into the red or into the zero, above 0 dB. Because if I was to normalize the RMS value or average to minus 10, what would happen? Wham! See now that the peaks of the audio have gone right past 0? Never a good thing. Okay? So this is why using RMS value is a little bit more touchy and more difficult, because it's very easy to set it to a parameter that goes outside of our peak limit. Peak is 0, and anything above that is just total distortion. So because of that, I tend to just go by peak value, and I will set my normalized value to minus 3 in most cases. Rarely do I go any higher than that. But if a client actually tells you what they want you to use, then set it accordingly. There's other settings here as well for RMS. You can say only adjust it by a certain amount. That would be the maximum gain. And if it's going to reduce levels, only reduce it by a certain amount. But again, super tweaky settings. Just stick with peak value. You'll be happier. It's going to make your life easier. So that's peak versus RMS. I hope that helps you guys. I'd love to get your suggestions for more questions over at Whittam's World at edgestudio.com. And if you need anything else from me, please look me up over at the tech side of our Edge Studio world at vostudiotech.com, where I can help you out and give you hands-on support and customized video tutorials on your specific topics. Thanks very much for watching, everybody. And please do subscribe on YouTube so you never miss another episode. Take care.